giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
We need your help to keep fun loud, live, and independent. For just $1, you can be our boss at patreon.com/funfrc. Pledge your support in September and you'll be eligible to win a Cooler Master MS-120 keyboard and mouse set.
There's been quite a few FRC events this past month, and we're going to cover 3 that we're able to kind of find good video of here. Starting right out, we're going to jump into the robots at the CNE event. So this information was provided to us by Karthik, so we just want to say thank you to him for providing that. So this is Canada's largest fair and festival. They have about 1.5 million attendees each year. So the event format was tailored to the experience of the general public, which I think is awesome because it's you never know who are going to come in, come out kind of thing, just think of like, your local fair or whatever, you got people that kind of cycle in and out. So I think that's awesome. So it's a 3-day event, but each day had its own alliance selection and elimination tournament at the end. So standings were cumulative throughout all the 3 days, despite having a tournament each day. The overall winner was calculated by applying the district points model calculations to the entire event. This led to each team that was in attendance had 23 qualification matches. So I just checked with Karthik just to make sure I was understanding this right. So there's 23 qualification matches over 3 days. So each day they had about 8, to my understanding, somewhere in there. So after those 8, you were ranked, 1 through whatever. Then alliances were formed. They played the full playoff bracket, and then they ended. Teams were awarded points based in there, and then they went to the next day. They kept their record from the previous day, and then went through the whole thing again, reformed alliances, and then on. So 865 was declared the overall winners. They were very consistent across the 3 days. 5406. Karthik says probably would have won, but they did miss day 1, costing them a lot of points in the rankings again because they were cumulative. Despite being only a switch bot, 6867 managed to see number 3 overall. Even with the 23 qualification matches. 2702 was the team with the most noticeable improved play. CIS District, the Ontario District Championship event. They were really impressive, especially once they got their lift working. I may hold these next thoughts because Karthik comments on his favorite foods, I think, from the festival or from the CNE event. So I'm going to hold off on them because there's some pretty good ones that you do not see at normal robotics events. So I'm going to hold off on those. In the meantime, we're going to switch over to Nick. He's going to talk about Mark.
Wait. There's a whole question there at the bottom. You didn't ask.
I didn't see it. That's right. I even wrote that.
I know.
So what are your guys' thoughts on this style of tournament, kind of this cumulative 3-day event?
Well, thank you for asking, Mike.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was really hoping that you would.
Mike, you here.
Dude, I'm a little rusty. It's been
I was just hoping
months.
that you would. I saw that there and I was excited because as you were reading it originally, I didn't read it at first before the show. So I guess you're going through. I was like, wow, it's definitely different than a normal FRC event. And then I got thinking about, how else could you run an FRC competition that goes beyond, I was thinking about golf, right? So there's many different ways you can play golf. There's, the Ryder Cup's coming up where you have match play and stroke play, and it's the same game, right? But it's a much different way of playing. So that is a very cool thing. And I just got me thinking of, what other ways you could play an FRC game.
Yeah, Chad, I'd love to hear from you, Chad, if you like the format of essentially. So, Justin, do you mind or Mike, do you mind just kind of re-saying like what that format is exactly?
So, from my understanding, and if anybody's out there that can clarify if I get it wrong, but so it looks like there's 19-ish teams. Depends on the day. I think Celtex was not there the first day. So, there's 23 qualification matches total that teams got over the 3 days. So I just, that's about 8 each day. And from my understanding, Karthik wasn't sure how to, maybe time wise, there's maybe 6 one day, 10 the other, something like that. So,
I remember from 1241 says you're right.
Okay, great. So at the end of, we'll say it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the end of Friday, there's a ranking, 1 through 19 teams. They go through, looks like, I think they had maybe 4 team alliances, something like that. So they went and they picked through, and then at the end of the day, you kind of had the winning alliance. But that just, I think, even in the playoff matches, those counted towards your rankings for the next day. So the next day, you started all over again, but you continued with your previous day record, and then you played your 8 more qualification matches, and then that affects the rankings in there, and then whoever then you pick again your alliances based on the rankings, and you do the whole playoff bracket again, and then those district points that are used for districts are then applied as well, and then they go to the third day and do the same thing over again, and then so the winning alliance may or may not actually have the overall team, this one team that ends up winning. So they said that 865 was the overall winners, and that's Warp 7 from Toronto.
I mean, we might be able to get a real world champion that way.
That's true. Possible. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So definitely just not something I don't think I could ever create myself. So I think that was that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I was going to say we can actually touch on this a little bit later because I know we're going to talk about Okra a little bit later. And so what this kind of reminds me of a little bit is like a league play kind of setup, which is exactly what Okra is. I know that there's actually some areas in the country for Vex that does kind of like a league setup too. So I think this would be we can touch back on this later, but I think it has there's a lot of big benefits I think for it. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
But I guess we are going to move on to the Mark competition. Mark, take.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin.
Good. We are good.
Okay. All right.
Onward.
Onward and upward. So Mark is an off-season event in Michigan. It's been going on for quite a long time. Usually it's in June every year. Unfortunately, they happen to schedule on the exact same day as another off-season Big Bang. And Michigan only has one field to use for off seasons, so one of them had to move. So Mark moved to a couple weekends ago. So some of the teams that have attended Mark like every year for a long time weren't able to attend this year because they had already started school. So with that said, we still had some really top tier teams there. Once the qualification matches were over, new Hall of Fame team, 2834, Bionic Blackhawks, came away with the number 1 seed, and they would go on to choose the new world champion, 27 Rush. So that's a pretty big powerhouse alliance. And they are Hall of Fame as well. Yeah, so 2 Hall of Fame teams there and a world champion. So they paired up for the number 1 alliance. They would move on to the finals where they would end up playing the number 3 alliance of 3538, the Robo Jackets, who had quite a good regular season year as well, and 51 Wings of Fire, who have been around for a long time. And so they played the number 3 alliance. The number 1 alliance would go on to win, as we're watching the finals match right now. Some other notable teams, the number 2 alliance was 1718 Fighting Pie. They would go on to pair up with 3641, the Flying Toasters, but they would lose out to that number 3 alliance in the semifinal. So overall, definitely some good teams there, some good play. And definitely this event's going to be moving back to June for next year. So there will be even more of the regular teams that end up going. Like 33 in the past has always gone every year. So we ended up going to the Big Bang competition instead, just because, our students were already in school. So we couldn't really take them out of school for an off season.
So I actually thought the reason that they switched is because there's only one fun stream and both were on fun. So.
Oh, I mean, I guess I'm not privy to the inside info. So maybe that's true. No, but yeah.
Both great events, seriously though. Like if you got a chance to watch, even with some of those teams missing, Mark was still very exciting to watch. A lot of cool things happening there, and I had more opportunity to watch this than the Robots at CNE happening. So definitely still a cool time.
Yeah, definitely. So it's always a good event, and it'll keep continuing to next year, and it'll be back in June next year. So everybody in the area, look out for that going back to June. So we're gonna wrap up our recaps now with Red Stick Rumble. Justin, what do you got for that?
So the Red Stick Rumble was a 32-team off-season event in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Each team played 6 qualification matches, and going 6-0 with a 3.0 ranking score was 4587 Jersey Voltage, who also won the Lone Star Central Regional during the regular season this year. So they picked the number 2 ranked team, 364, and also picked up 6489 and 5829 at the end of the Alliance selections. The Alliance played really well, easily dispatching the number 8 and number 4 alliances on the way to the finals. On the other side of the bracket, the number 6 alliance of 9989. Now that's not an actual team. I'm not sure whose rookie team or second robot that team was, but 3946, 3847, and another kind of second team, 9986, would reach the finals. So number 6 alliance, I think it knocked off the I forgot what it was. two of the 7 lost and the 3 lost. So it would have been an upset on the other side of the bracket. But in the finals, however, it was the number 1 alliance that would come out on top and take the win. But overall, it was a great event and great job to all teams.
Good deal. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you to all of our co-executive producers, keeping fun loud, live, and independent. To pledge your support, go to patreon.com/funfrc.